My in-laws said I wasn't good enough, then convinced my husband to dump me for the president's daughter. He did. What they never guessed. I secretly owned a $7 billion empire. Now they're on their knees begging me for a second chance. Hey Reddit. My name is Cassandra Blake and I used to think love was enough. I met Elijah during our junior year at Stanford. He was the classic golden boy, charismatic, brilliant, and the kind of man who made everyone in the room feel like they mattered. He came from a powerful political family. His father was a former senator, his mother ran half a dozen boards and charities, and his lineage traced back to European nobility. Meanwhile, I was just the daughter of two overworked immigrants who had spent their lives running a quiet, respectable restaurant in Oakland. I never fit into his world, but I thought that was okay. I thought he loved me for who I was. We got married the year after graduation. I wore a simple ivory dress and we exchanged vows under a canopy of eucalyptus trees in Big Sur. His parents didn't bother showing up. They said they had an event in DC that couldn't be missed. But even then I tried to give them grace. I told myself they didn't know me yet, that they'd come around. They didn't. From the moment we said I do, his mother made it her mission to remind me that I was not enough. She'd invite Elijah to charity galas and political fundraisers but never extend the invite to me. When I did show up once unannounced, she told the press I was Elijah's secretary. At a family dinner she once looked me dead in the eye and said, "Some women marry up. Some women marry beyond their station. The real question is how long until the balance resets." His father wasn't much better. He never said anything cruel. He didn't need to. The way he looked at me said it all. Contempt barely disguised behind fake smiles and polite nods. For years I endured it. I played the role of the quiet, supportive wife. I stayed out of their spotlight. I cooked dinner, ran my own small graphic design firm from home, and never asked for more than what we had. I believed that if I kept my head down they'd see me for who I really was. But things started to shift about a year ago. Elijah became distant. He'd spend nights at his parents' estate claiming he was working late with his father on political campaigns. He stopped texting, stopped calling. When he was home he was a shell, polite, detached, and barely present. He kept saying he was just tired. I believed him, or I wanted to. Then one evening he came home early. I was in the kitchen making tea when he sat down across from me, fidgeting with a ring on his finger. "Cass, we need to talk." My stomach dropped. He had that tone. The one people use when something's already been decided without you. He said he loved me, that he always would. But things were complicated, that he needed to think about his future, about his family's legacy, about alliances and long-term political strategy, words that felt sterile and scripted. Then came the punch to the gut. "My parents want me to marry someone more compatible," he said quietly. "Someone who understands the responsibilities of a political life." I just stared at him. "You're already married," I said to me. He wouldn't meet my eyes. It turns out the someone his family had in mind was the daughter of the sitting president, Amelia Voss, Harvard law graduate, political activist. The media loved her, and she came with endorsements, power, and press connections that made Elijah's parents drool. I was stunned into silence. And Elijah? He packed a bag that same night. He didn't even look back. I spent 2 weeks holed up in my apartment. The press didn't catch wind. Elijah was careful. His parents released a vague statement about him needing space, focusing on policy healing. I kept quiet. No one asked for my side of the story, but here's what Elijah and his so fine family didn't know. While they were busy planning cocktail parties and handpicking his next bride like it was a business transaction, I'd been building something of my own. 10 years ago, before anyone knew my name, I started a small UX and digital design agency. It began as freelance gigs between college classes, then it turned into full-blown projects. I was smart-driven and I kept my name off the front lines. My company operated under a different LLC name. I let my co-founder, my best friend Michaela, be the face. And it grew quietly, massively. We landed contracts with major tech firms, then diversified into global branding, media, and even artificial intelligence interface work. By the time I was 29, we'd quietly acquired several small startups, merged with a major firm in Europe, and pulled in enough revenue to make headlines. If anyone had known where to look, they didn't, because I never told anyone, not even Elijah. Not because I didn't trust him, but because I liked keeping that part of me separate. It was my world, built by my hands. He married a woman he thought was average, comfortable, easy to discard. What he didn't know I was the majority owner of a company now valued at over $7,300,000,000. I held 63% of the shares personally. I wasn't some poor girl who lucked into a rich marriage. I was the empire. It all came to a head 6 weeks after he left. Elijah's mother called me. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity got the better of me. Her voice was tight, brittle, the edge of desperation peeking through the usual arrogance. "Cassandra, I think we should talk. Things haven't gone the way we expected." I blinked. She went on to explain between carefully veiled pauses that Elijah's engagement to Amelia had stalled. Something about political optics, timing, branding complications. The president's team didn't approve of the rush timeline, and Amelia herself had apparently voiced concerns about Elijah's emotional availability. But more importantly, their foundation Langford initiative had lost 2 major corporate sponsors. One of them was a tech company I now happened to have a controlling interest in. The other a startup I'd acquired 3 months prior. I listened in silence as she explained the financial hole they'd fallen into, the reputational damage, the way Elijah had been distracted and off his game. Then came the real reason for the call. "We were wondering perhaps if you could help. You've always had a good head for business. You must still care about the family." I swear I could hear her choking on the last word. Family. I didn't respond. Not yet. Because what she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I had been preparing for this exact moment. And when I showed up at their estate the next day in a tailored black suit and heels that echoed through their marble foyer like a war drum, they weren't just surprised. They were on their knees begging. The Langford estate hadn't changed. Same towering white columns, same black iron gates, same pristine hedges trimmed like a magazine spread. But this time I didn't arrive in Elijah's passenger seat smiling nervously, wondering if his parents would acknowledge me. This time I arrived in a black Escalade with tinted windows and my general counsel seated beside me. Their housekeeper opened the door with a shaky smile, clearly instructed not to ask questions. I stepped inside, heels clicking across the marble floors. Sunlight poured in through the double-height windows and the air still smelled of expensive perfume and fresh orchids, artificial perfection as always. They were waiting for me in the grand room. Elijah, his mother, his father, all 3 seated like royalty, preparing to hand out favors. Except this time I held the throne. Elijah stood as I entered. I could see it in his eyes. Regret, panic, shame, all tangled together behind a practiced politician smile. "Cass, thank you for coming." I didn't answer. I sat slowly, deliberately. Mrs. Langford spoke first, perched on the edge of the tufted velvet sofa like a hawk on a branch. "We appreciate your time. We know things between you and Elijah have been difficult, but we're hoping we can find common ground." I raised one eyebrow. She was already cracking, trying to sweet-talk someone she once called a social liability. Mr. Langford added, "Our foundation's mission has always been service. But as you know, without funding, that mission is in jeopardy." I nodded, slowly leaning back in my seat. My legal advisor stayed silent beside me, briefcase on his lap. Elijah stepped forward. His voice was softer now. "Cass, we made mistakes. I made mistakes. But I think maybe this is a sign that we can reset. We could start over." I looked at him for the first time. He wore the same cologne he used to, but it smelled different now. Weaker. Unimpressive. "Start over." He nodded. His eyes shimmered like he might cry. "I never should have left you. I was under pressure. I let them talk me into something that wasn't real. I kept thinking about you, about what we had, and I realized I still love you." The audacity. I inhaled, slow and steady. "You love me now that Amelia Voss dropped you and your political future circling the drain. You love me now that your family's losing funding because I own 63% of your major backers." He looked stunned. His mother gasped. "You knew?" His father asked, voice tight. "Of course I knew," I said calmly. "Did you think I married into your world without protecting my own?" Mrs. Langford tried to recover. "We didn't know. Had we known you were involved, you wouldn't have treated me like trash at every dinner party. You wouldn't have told your staff to serve me on mismatched china." Her eyes flicked downward. I stood up. "Let me be clear. I didn't come here to save you. I came here to show you who I am, who I've always been. I let you dismiss me, humiliate me, treat me like a stepping stone. And for years I stayed quiet because I thought love meant tolerance." I paused, locking eyes with Elijah. "But love doesn't mean sacrifice. Not like that. Not the way you demanded it. He opened his mouth, but I held up my hand. You made your choice. You married politics. You married ambition. And you divorced me without even filing paperwork. You just walked away like I was an inconvenience. His voice cracked. I made a mistake. Please, Cass. Let's fix it. I tilted my head. You think this is a romance story? It's not. It's a resurrection. He blinked. Mrs. Langford leaned forward. Cassandra, if this is about respect, you have it. Truly. We were short-sighted. We see that now. My voice sharpened. It's not about respect. It's about consequence. You spent years convincing my husband I wasn't worthy. Now you're begging for help from the woman you tried to erase. You don't want me. You want my money, my power. Mr. Langford's jaw clenched. What are you saying? He asked. I turned to my lawyer, who slid a folder across the table. Inside was a one-page letter of intent. Here's what I'm offering. I'll provide a 6-month bridge donation to the Langford Initiative, enough to keep the lights on and staff employed while you restructure. But it comes with 3 conditions. Mrs. Langford bristled. What conditions? 1. Elijah signs divorce papers today. No stalling. No discussion. 2. The Langford Initiative publicly names me as their sole executive donor. My name front and center, not as Elijah's ex-wife, as the reason you still exist. And 3. I leaned in, voice low, still cold. You never contact me again. No favors, no family brunches, no political proposals. After this meeting, I disappear from your life. You vanish from mine. The silence was thick enough to choke on. You can accept the deal, or you can let your empire fall. But either way, I win. Mr. Langford looked furious. Mrs. Langford looked like she'd bitten into glass. Elijah. He looked broken. Cass, please. I gave him a long look. Then I turned toward my lawyer. Let's go. They didn't stop me. They knew they couldn't. The next morning, I received confirmation that the divorce was signed and filed. My legal team sent the foundation their funding. The press announcement hit the internet 2 hours later. Billionaire entrepreneur Cassandra Blake rescues Langford Initiative from collapse. Silent powerhouse steps forward, exposes her stake in multinational tech empire. My phone didn't stop buzzing for days. Interview requests, board offers, podcast invites, keynote speaker proposals. And Elijah. He tried to call. I blocked the number. He sent a letter. I shredded it. Some things don't deserve a reply. I moved into a penthouse in Manhattan overlooking Central Park. Not to flaunt wealth, but because it made me feel weightless, like I had finally risen above the noise, the judgment, the ghosts of who they tried to make me. And for the first time in my life, I stopped apologizing for my success. Because I wasn't the broken wife they left behind. I was the storm they never saw coming. They thought they buried me when they walked away, but I wasn't buried. I was planted. And now I've grown into something they can't ignore, outrun, or control.